everyone. This is Mr. Miller, and we've got another episode of Riding with Rob. This is Mr. Trayton Dansby. He is a STEAM teacher at Bixby Middle School, and we had he and some of his students at our board meeting last Thursday night. And it was so great just to see the kids and the excitement they have. This was the robotics team in particular. But I thought it'd be great to just introduce you to our community. A lot of people don't even know what STEAM is.
Sure.
They've heard that, or STEM.
Yes.
Now it's kind of morphed into STEAM. But
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what the STEAM program at Bixby Middle School is all about.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this. STEAM, it's a really exciting class. It's one of those that I get to be the fun teacher. I get to have all the fun, excitement stuff.
Yep.
Science, technology, engineering, art, and math is what the acronym stands for. And so STEAM is a really interesting concept because the students are learning through project-based 21st century lens, which I think is so extremely important. It is extremely important in today's world. I mean, and they're learning engineering skills, they're learning how to program, they're learning building fundamentals in robotics specifically. But then we're also learning, they're doing math and doing science, but it's in a practical, applicable way that they're excited about and engaged about. And that's just the number one thing.
And what you've just talked about is directly aligned with where our strategic plan is.
Exactly.
Because we know that we still have to teach kids how to read and do math and social studies and all those core subjects, and we're going to continue to do that in Bixby. But beyond that, it's really these learner attributes that we focus on in our strategic plan: critical thinking, curiosity, creativity, problem solving.
Yes.
Those elements that are going to be a difference maker for the kids of this century, where so many of the jobs that they will fill in middle school, we don't even know what those are. So
Exactly.
we need to equip kids with how to solve problems, how to work together in doing that. And so when you see those robotic teams, you brought some of those last Thursday, but they are pretty elaborate, and I know these kids have worked really hard.
Very.
Folks out here listening, think in terms of very complex Legos.
Very complex Legos. That's a great way to think about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The students this year, they're learning, they're designing a robot that can get disc out of 3 different types of dispensers. And these little orange discs, they're basically having to go make a robot that can go get these discs and then play shuffleboard. You played shuffleboard?
I have.
Yes. So now robotic shuffleboard, if you will. And so they've been working on it since August, creating these robots that will do this. So they've gone through multiple different iterations. They're learning how to keep an engineering notebook, follow the engineering design process. They've had opportunities to work with real life engineers in the field and talk with them, learn about how do they as an engineer do their job, and then take some of those skills and apply it to what they're doing in the classroom. So
now, you mentioned something there about being able to work with engineers, but not having the engineers part of their team, or you.
Exactly. I mean, that's the hardest part as the adult sometimes, is letting go, letting them learn from their mistakes. And one of the mottos that we follow is try again, fail again, and fail better. And that's the take home that my students, I want them to leave my classroom with, because they have to learn these critical thinking skills that they have to do themselves. And it takes the job of a teacher from being stand up in front of the room like we saw 50, 60 years ago and lead everybody through step 1, step 2, step 3, and more helping them facilitate in their own learning, empowering them to, with the tools and resources they need to go out and then create and apply what they've learned.
You're exactly right. And that motto really applies to everything we do in life, really. Whether you're writing, whether you're doing a math problem, whether you're playing football or basketball. You've got to try, and then you're going to fail. All of us fail.
Absolutely.
And what do you learn from that failure? How do you incorporate that into getting better?
Exactly.
And so it really is not novel. We talk about it in technology, but I really think kids need to think that way in everything that they do.
In everything. It's an important lesson to learn. How do you take that failure and, exactly like you said, extract the lessons that you got from it? And that's something we discuss a lot in the classroom, is what did you fail at? We celebrate failure because failure is uncomfortable. It's not something we as people like to do, but it's encouraged because it's a lesson that you can do to learn from.
And I'm 61, and on occasion I still fail.
Absolutely. I fail every day.
I really do. I'm constantly learning, in which I enjoy, and we really need to reinforce that with our kids too, that it's not just about a grade in your subjects. It's about the process of learning, and the process of learning is trying and making mistakes and adapting from that. So
Absolutely.
not only do you have these robotics teams,
Yes.
they have been hugely successful.
Hugely successful.
So
Yes.
brag a little bit about what your kids have done.
I'd love to, because I'm just absolutely amazed at the accomplishments and the lessons that they've learned. I mean, my students, this is a first year program for Bixby Middle School. This is our first year to have a robotics team, and they've already established themselves as a leader in the state already. I mean, just off the bat, we're currently number 1 in the state with their driving their skills is what they call it. They're currently holding number 1 position. There's 5 different teams in the program. All 5 of them have qualified to go to the state competition. 2 of them have received an invitation to compete in Iowa.
At the national
level. Yes. So
wow.
they'll be competing with the best of the best from across the nation.
And I heard you say the other day that they're ranked in the top 7%.
7% of the world.
Of the world?
Of the world.
So when's the world competition?
The world competition, and I've told my parents and I've told my students, I know they're going to be there. I know we're going to be there. World competition at the end of April. And after the state competition, we'll see how the results line up and how they perform. But
where's the world competition?
Dallas, Texas this year.
Oh,
yep.
The whole world.
The whole world
is
comes to
coming
Dallas, Texas. Yeah, the 42
Wow.
different countries will be there.
That's phenomenal.
It's really neat. It's a really neat
so
thing.
At nationals, then you have to place in a certain order in order to be able to make it.
Yeah. Well, the national competition's a national invitational where it doesn't necessarily lead, state, nation,
gotcha.
world. It's just more of like a national, almost separate from the rest. It's just it's off to the side, if you will.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
your kids are enormously excited about the opportunity to compete.
Very.
Not just with their own friends and peers here, but across the state
Across
and
the nation.
and nationally.
Yeah.
That'd be really very cool.
And ties into the, with the strategic plan, making a global citizen. How are they going to be able to, that's going to be a really real life lesson of how are we going to be able to communicate across language barriers? How are we going to be able to communicate and form alliances with people that may have different viewpoints and different worldviews in real time? So it's a really exciting opportunity.
Well, I know there's a school here in Tulsa. It's a higher ed, but it's called Holberton School, and those students actually do projects with students in other nations where they're writing code together or developing projects, and that's intentional because of the same thing you just mentioned, that many of the companies now are global. And you've got to be able to work with individuals and work through those language barriers as well as just cultural barriers that are there. So that's fantastic that we're working through that. What else do you have that you wanted to share with us today?
I mean, the robotics is a great portion. We love a robotics, but the STEAM that we're doing every day, there's 4 different STEAM classes that we offer. And each one of them just provides so many different opportunities through Project Lead the Way. That's the initiative and the curriculum that we follow. And students are able to, like those things we talked about, cross-curricular connections, making these authentic learning moments. One of my favorite ones that my students, I feel like, took away the most was in the design and model course that I teach. We had a carnival this last
I remember that.
Yes, this last fall. And what was neat about that is the students were learning about how the science of carnival games and what is the science behind that. How does a carnival game operate on a scientific basis? And so they learned these different principles, Newton's laws, and, took these different principles and applied it to creating a game. And then we invited the community out. Community had a great response. We saw hundreds of people came out to support them.
I played a couple games. I didn't do well.
Yes. That means they did good. That means they did good in their jobs. That's
right. They took my money.
They got the money. And we used it as a little bit of a fundraiser. And what was neat is the aftermath of that event is the students, during the event, they were recording data. Real time, of like who paid, how much did they pay, what was their score, are they new or returning customer? And so they had this data that they recorded at the end of the project. They had authentic information that was meaningful to them that they then took to what does mean, median, and mode look like, and why is mean, median, and mode important? They took this data and started analyzing it. And so it's just a great example of the type of projects and the type of curriculum that we're doing, is that the students are not only creating something, but there's a meaningful audience that's consuming it, and they're getting real life practical skills and seeing, oh, this is why I'm learning math. This is what the math is for.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Well, fantastic. I think that's about our time, but let me put just a pitch out there, because I know there are people who watch this who may be interested in supporting our schools or some of these programs. They've heard you talk about our robotics program. I don't imagine it's cheap to go to Iowa or to Dallas or to compete here. If people either want to give a donation to these programs, or if they're an engineer, they want to volunteer and help out, what's the contact information that you would like to share? Either the school number or your email? Or
sure, they can always reach out to me, tdansby@bigsbyps.org. And we'll also drop something in the comments below with the link to our page on the district website.
Great. We'll share some pictures and other things. So if that's something you'd like to do, we'd certainly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
As well. Mr. Dansby, it's a joy to work with you. You are definitely a representative of the great teachers that we have here at Bixby Middle School and across our district. Teachers that are thinking beyond just the standard curriculum, but also how to engage students in meaningful, authentic ways that will benefit them, not just this year, but into their future and whatever they choose to do.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Miller. I appreciate it.
All right, you get to press the button.